They're jumping on now. Good morning, everyone. Go ahead, Mark.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to unmute everybody's microphone until I hear noise or there's any kind of noise. Then I have to mute them if there's background noise. But you're unmuted. My name is Mark Clement. I'm with VetBiz Central. Today we have Tarek Maraba here. What the VA buys in Indiana. He's here to give you all the ins and outs of that. I see people are rapidly logging on here as we go. So I guess
people are going to be surprised at like how we do the webinars. You know, they think they're going to walk in and not have fun. So these are like fun webinars.
You're going to have fun if you're interested in doing business with the VA and finding out what they buy in Indiana. Tarek is your guy, and I will let him get into this and introduce himself, and I will mute myself. Feel free to ask questions in the chat or in the questions section that is constantly monitored. Both of those sections. You can see the tabs on the right, questions and chat. Just throw anything in the chat. I monitor that. Questions, monitor that throughout the webinar. Okay, there you go, Tarek.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mark, for that wonderful wake up America introduction. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to, as Mark was saying, we're doing what VA buys in Indiana. Why is that important? Because each state that the VA does business in, they buy certain things, sometimes the same along the lines, or different things specific to that state and what their needs are. We're going to go over all that information. I'm going to turn my video off so we can just focus on the slides and kind of focus on the discussion here. So just give me a second here as I do this. Let's see. I think I turned, let's see, this one. There we go. So as Mark said, what VA buys in Indiana. Before we get started, real quick, just want to reference the control panel again, whether you're logged in on your phone or your tablet or your computer. The control panel shows some panes with regards to questions, handouts, etc. So you should see the questions pane. It says questions on it. There's an arrow to the left of the word questions. Just click on that. Arrow, expand the window, and as Mark was saying, type your questions in. You know, usually we stop the webinar, dead in its tracks and go over the question if we can. It helps with the information refresh right there. If you have questions, so feel free to just add that information right there in the questions pane. On a phone or tablet, you'll probably see just a question mark. You can click on that. That's probably what that references in terms of asking your question. With regards to a handout, you have a copy of today's presentation. So if you see the handouts pane, you see a number 1 there. Click on the arrow to the left of the word handouts and it'll expand that window, and just click on the PDF and it will open on your screen. So you can save it, you can print it out. It has contact information as well, but it's an outline of the information we're going to present today. And as I was telling Mark earlier before we opened up the webinar, I changed the slides around a little bit because I wanted to provide more of a sectional know your customer kind of thing. So we're going to talk about that and talk about deep dive into data and kind of go through there. So hopefully many of you or all of you are aware of the data and the SAM and things like that. But if not, this is going to give you an opportunity, I guess, within yourselves to start asking questions and saying, hey, I didn't know that system does this, and that's where you can get it. And that's how, I just need to find someone or have someone do Excel spreadsheets or go through that stuff. So there's a little dynamics behind that, but the data is there. We're going to talk about that. My name is Tarek Maraba, and I'm with Rymys Technology Consultants with regards to my company partnering with VetBiz. A little bit about, first of all, I want to thank Abron Andrews, Director of VetBiz Central and the VBOC. For those of you who are not registered with VBOC as veteran companies or non-veteran companies, they're a piece of the SBA, and they work with veteran business outreach centers. They handle Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio in that region. and they're there to support you guys with regards to helping you find the right people, the right solutions, the right systems, the right services, the right guidance in that sense. So they're available for your assistance. My background, which I'm going to shoot up right now, is I worked with the VA for 6 years, from January 2014 to December 2019. I was brought in as a subcontractor, not a employee of any company, but a subcontractor to 3 consecutive service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. I worked in the small business office, and my role was to answer the couple questions, basically from the executive director and my director to, what does the VA buy? And, well, how do small businesses access the ability to sell to the government, to the VA? And it turned into, those 2 questions turned into, well, first we have to know what the VA is in terms of, you hear the VA, one word, Veterans Affairs, 2 words, of course, VA, the acronym, and you just hear VA, but you don't hear Veterans Health Administration, Veterans Benefits Administration, National Cemetery Administration. You don't hear Office of Information and Technology, Office of Construction and Facilities Management, Office of Procurement and Logistics. You don't hear about the DELC and the you may have heard of the SAC and the TAC and so forth. But the VA is just a gigantic system of administrations and program offices and sub offices and how the network, the vast network, the VISNs, Veteran Integrated Service Network within the VHA, and there's 21 of them, and which one is which and which one do you do business with? And you could be living in Florida, you could be doing business with the one in California, you could be living in Indiana and doing the business in Texas. There's different avenues of how to do business with. Those of you who want to do business in Indiana, your home state, you want to learn, or even if you're not in Indiana, you can learn how to utilize this information into working with that particular area and just kind of transfer the outline to a different state. So that's the key in that system and solution there. So I worked with that. When I left the VA in 2020, of course, the pandemic occurred and things happened. And I started, I was going to go back to the VA in terms of my role with the small business office, in terms of an analyst for teaching and developing research and implementing new capabilities to teach veterans, whether they be in-class certification styles and things like that. But I decided to venture and grow the business in terms of helping you guys, and who can I team with to be able to do this? And I contacted Abron, gave him a little bit of my background, and we were able to partner, and I'm able to bring you information on their behalf as well in terms of helping you do business with the VA in different mannerisms. With regards to that, again, I want to thank Abron and Mark for working with me in bringing you, allowing us to work together to bring you this information. When we talk about our mission as a company, our mission is to build a company that helps, that when Abron calls or the small business calls, they're like, well, how do we do this? And Mark was actually asking me some questions earlier, before we started the webinar. If I would come to you and I give you this, what do you do for me, and so on and so forth? And do you work with companies that are complete startups, or entrenched in the system already, kind of thing? And because I've taught over 7,000 businesses how to do business with the VA and the federal government, I have an idea, of course, is where you are in the process. And my systems, my solutions, and my services are built based on, regardless of where you are in the process, I know where to take you and so forth like that. So give you the consultations and so forth. So that was the course of my purpose of the company. Our vision, of course, is to build the company within the next 5 years and continue the partnerships that I have, and to continue to bring new options in teaching you guys and helping you guys and learning and so forth. So, my goal is not just my company, but also my partnerships, which are very important. So that's something to take in mind too, that when you're building those relationships, you have to differentiate between, is this for me or is this for us? Is this for them, etc. And you have to kind of definitely put that foot forward first. So with regards to that. So today we're going to talk about the competition and your customer. We're going to talk about interpreting data for government. We're going to talk about deep dive into data. Why there's only a few of these with regards to the course lesson, but there's a lot of information for each one of them as they grow. During the course, and this is one of the things that we like to keep you guys alert with, there's going to be several polling questions, which are basically survey questions within the system. So we're going to finish a section or finish a piece and then ask some questions. Again, there's going to be a lot of information for section 1 with regards to, I changed up the slides a bit because I wanted to give you guys the understanding of what your competition and your customer, knowing your customer, what does that really mean? And we're talking about Indiana. So when I mentioned the VA in terms of, administrations, I'm going to show you some tricks and pieces that you can find, like, and say, hey, this is the VA in Indiana. So you take all that as a whole and look at it in Indiana, and that's the key there. When we look in the deep dive of data, I'm going to let you know, like, from this database that you can pull from this one piece, this one system here, and you guys all who are doing business with want to do business with the government or are preparing to, all have to be registered in a specific system. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, and I'm sure you're aware of which one that is. And that system alone, the way the GSA has changed and integrated many of the systems out there into that website, provides a lot of information. Now, it's just one of the areas to go get information, but it's a big one. So by the end of today's lesson, the goal is for you to understand the importance of knowing your customer, understanding the importance of knowing your competition. So when I ask you the question, you know your competition in the commercial world, but do you know your competition in the government world? Those are two different questions, because a lot of people know their competitors in the public, sector, but when it comes to the government, with the government, they're like, well, I don't know how many companies have contracts and this, and I'm going to show you some tricks, to utilize information that you've heard constantly. Understanding the value of data, understanding the importance of organizing data for strategic development purposes, because data can tell you a lot of things. And understand how to use available resources to drive your competitive advantage. What makes you different? So let's talk about your customer, your competition. So of course, we're talking about VA and the largest network with regards to in the government, with procurement and supply agencies of the federal government with regards to medical supplies, services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. VA operates a nationwide system of hospitals, clinics, regional offices, veteran integrated service networks. We mentioned that in the introduction. Benefits processing center. You guys have heard of education, GI Bill. You've heard of mortgages. You've heard of servicing loans and so forth. There's a lot of things, insurances and so on. There's a lot of things. That's the benefits processing centers within the Veterans Benefits Administration, and national cemeteries that require a broad spectrum of goods and services. It's not just when a military personnel or some dignitary passes away and they get buried in Arlington Cemetery. No, that's not just the simplicity of it. There's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more that the grounds, the development, the construction, the integration of components, the security. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, just like a normal office. So there's different things with regards to that. So when we talk about Indiana, let's talk about the veteran facts in Indiana. A lot of this information, again, there's links available to you, and I've put them into place so you can get an idea of the expenditures, and this is from the VA's quick facts. The geographic distribution of VA expenditures report, it's called the GDX, shows you gives you the preliminary overview of expenditures for the veteran population in Indiana, the total expenditures of what the VA buys in Indiana for an annual basis. Simplistic things, compensation and pensions, for employees, construction, education and vocational rehabilitation. So the expenses, there are some aspects of large expenditures and small expenditures, but the point is that there are expenditures, and the companies that let them know that they're available, first of all, and then can fulfill the requirements, of course, are the ones that are looked upon with regards to a lot of the contracting opportunities. But this is the type of population you're dealing with in terms of the VA. I'm going to show you a little bit denser information shortly. 2021 small business profile in Indiana with regards to 529,456 small businesses. 280 of the businesses in Indiana, again, let me repeat that, 280 of them are STVOSBs or VOSBs. That means they are VA verified as a service disabled veteran-owned small business or a veteran-owned small business. Why is that important? It means that 280 companies, depending on how they strategically position themselves, are potential viable candidates to perform on contracts or opportunities that the VA come about to put forth with regards to Indiana. And there's a combinations of that. What does that mean? It means that either the VA does finances the project, or another agency in partnership with the VA finances the project, and it's done in there. When it comes to the VA, of course, they have a saying or a motto that they live by called vets first, but not vets only. It means that if there are not 2 or more VA verified companies that can fulfill a requirements on an opportunity, they go to the open market. So that means, say, 100,000 companies can start looking at it, and 30 companies can bid on it if they feel like they can really do it, as opposed to the rule of 2 says 2 or more VA verified veteran companies, starting with service disabled veteran-owned small business is the primary, and then the secondary will be veteran-owned small business. So it depends on where you are in that process. But I just wanted to give you some information, and of course there are links with regards to the slides. You'll have these live links. You can go get the data yourself and look at it, but just get an idea, with regards to the types of companies that are there with no employees, 1 to 19, small, and 53,000 companies with no employees, other services except public administration or construction. There are 49,000 companies with no employees in construction, professional, scientific, technical services. So that gives you an idea that there's, a one-man show with several contractors or 1099ers. There are several companies with 1 to 19 employees, meaning 2 or 3 kind of thing, and so forth, as you see the numbers. But just give you an idea what your competition is in the state of Indiana in terms of, just having a basic knowledge of, hey, there's this going on and so forth. And, we're competing against these companies, and I'm going to show you how to kind of find these companies with regards to that. So when we talk about knowing your customer, we talk about what does the VA buy simplified. This is a simplified solution as to what the VA buys in Indiana. And this is just an overview of what VA buys. So what I mean by this is that when I first started with the VA and as an analyst with the education training group, this is the kind of thing that I was given in terms of information saying, this is what others have tried for, 3 years and couldn't come up better than something like this. This was already on the website. What does this mean? Pharmaceuticals and medical surgical supplies. Well, that could be 14,000 different things. What does that mean? Perishable substance, equipment, supplies, materials for facility operation. So that really doesn't tell you much except, okay, these are categorical, which help a little bit, but that's not how the government does business. There's the back end piece that you have to be absolutely versed with, because that's what's going to help you find out exactly what they need and if you're able to fulfill the requirement. Those are the key components. And then, of course, the eligibility being a VA verified company, or then you have your certifications with the Small Business Administration, Hub Zone, Women-Owned Small Business, 8A, American Samoan. I mean, there's a list of them with regards to the types of companies, the certifications. So those are things that you want to definitely look into with regards to that. So Office of Procurement, Acquisition, and Logistics, for example, this is what they put out. But when we're talking about, what VA buys, and you guys want to know how to sell your product or your services to the VA in Indiana, we want to go granular. Now, you're going to see this slide a couple times along with additional data. There are some key elements I'm pointing out now, and I'm going to point out in a little bit with regards to number 2 and number 6, 236220. So this is called the NAICS Code. So when you identify the NAICS Code, you start seeing what they're buying in what industry. Engineering services, 15,916,000 is what they've procured in 2020, in the fiscal year 21. Okay, and you look at the little number called the PS code, which is the C1QA. What is that? That's the actual product or service that they purchased. So the industry is 541330, the NAICS code, and the actual product or service they purchased was this. Now, you notice two things. Number 2 and 6, 236220, commercial institutional building construction. But I wanted to point out the 2 in red. If you notice Y1DA, Y1DZ, what does that mean? In the same industry, they purchased 2 separate product or services. And that was the key. What do those mean? Well, we're going to get to that in a little bit granular wise, but I wanted to give you an idea. This is how they think right here. You need data to understand how the government thinks when it comes to, yeah, we have a problem, we have a situation. So you're talking to a program director, or you're talking to a project manager at the VA or in the group, and you say, okay, we have requirements, we want 12 teams, we want this, we want that, we need this, we need every 3 months milestones cleared, we need some agile project managements, analysis put into place, and using the styles of being an agile. We need to take advantage of this and this and this and implement these and kind of make sure there's no stopgap and there's no, what's the word when there's no compression point where things get backed up, and we need progress reports and so forth. Okay, that's your discussion with the requirements component. The contracting person, where they don't necessarily sometimes don't work hand in hand, only because there's different, hey, you need a company that does this, we're going to find you a company that's cost effective and does this, this, and this, and is able to do it, but benefits the cost of the agency in that sense based on budgets. So this is what they look at. So there's 2 areas that you understand with regards to what the VA buys in Indiana. This is Indiana. These numbers are Indiana. 15 million engineering services, commercial institutional building construction, 12 million. They're building something, they're designing something, they need something, and inside a new construction thing, they need IT, they need security, they need HVAC, they need waste management, they need everything. So you start thinking and putting these things together. Temporary help services, analytical laboratory instrument manufacturing. There's a lot of things here. So just these numbers start telling you things. Now we're looking at what does the VA buy in Indiana, and we're going to show you now knowing your customer. So this is the map of the U.S., and this is the VISNs that we talk about in terms of better integrated service networks. Just to show you, I'm kind of rolling back and going forward. VISN 10 right there, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, that's where you guys are in VISN 10. Abron and Mark are in the office in Flint, Michigan with regards to running VISN 10, and they work very closely with the other states, Michigan and Ohio, and here we are in Indiana. So this gives you that idea of what we're talking about. Now, how do we go more deep into Indiana? So first of all, there's a link underneath the map that you see. So that gives you the idea, hey, again, the PowerPoint in the handout section, these are all live links and you can take you to these sections. So understanding the data is very important as well. So you gather and interpreting it as well are equally important kind of thing. So now I look what I found, because this is one of those maps, those digital maps at the VA that it's not easy to find, but it's there. And depending on what link you click, it takes you to a different page and gives you certain information. Now, this digital map, okay, is actually, each state is clickable. So what does that mean? It means that you click on Indiana and you're going to get this. You're going to find all the main offices of the Veterans Health Administration, the Veterans Benefits Administration, the National Cemetery Administration. Why is this good? Well, you have contact information, right? You have contact information on people you can start calling and making discussions, setting up meetings, and asking questions. I highlighted the 3 boxes at the top of the image just to show you that if you click on each one of them, Veterans Health Administration, Veterans Benefits Administration, and National Cemetery Administration, it'll kind of take you directly to that little area of information. So we're talking about outpatient clinics, we're talking about VA medical centers, health care systems, and so forth. Fort Wayne, Indiana, Indianapolis, Marion, Fort Wayne, Lawrence, Bloomington, and the various cities. So they're there. So this is where a lot of the procurement's happening. So the Office of Information Technology, for example, is one big program office, but guess what? It helps with IT related issues. It helps with things VA related wise. So there's different areas and different offices and different needs and different scenarios. So this is who you contact. Now, before you jump the gun and call someone, there's going to be a need to do your homework first. So just don't call blindly. The saying, you only get a first chance to make a good first impression. So the second chance is kind of like, let's not use it just yet. Let's make sure the first impression is the good one. And that's by knowing your information first. Build your own capability statement. If you don't have one, build a capability statement. It's your outline of your company. You have to know your company, you have to know your competitor, you have to know your customer. And that's what's so key about this is there's so much information. It takes time to find, it takes time to outline, it takes time to digest, and to smoothly speak it in conversation. Because that's where the difference between a stutter in conversation and smooth conversation occurs. They know the difference. We want you to be smoothly speaking the conversation. Know your customer. Here we go again with Indiana. So I just wanted to give you a breakdown. VISN 10, of course, is that. And then here's the centers in Indiana, just to give you an idea. So I asked you the question, okay? I asked you the question about who are you going to call? And that's not it's a trick question kind of thing, but it's one to make you think. So here's some information, contact information. You have phone numbers, you have locations. So who are you going to call? Let me stop you dead in your tracks. No one yet. Well, why is that? Why do you give us contact information? Well, I give you contact information so you understand that there's a lot more contact information out there, and you will need to call them, absolutely. But are they buying what you're selling? So you need to really understand what exactly is going on. So the integration occurred between, this is just some quick fact about your customer in Indiana. There was an integration project, transformation project in 2020, 2021 with regards to VISN 11 as part of the My Transformation Plan and becoming partnered with VISN 10. That's why there's more opportunity. So with regards to that, you're talking about medical centers and independent ambulatory systems, VISN 10 with regards to, so you have all these different things, even in Ohio. So that's because Ohio is part of the network. Independent Columbus, Ohio Ambulatory Care Clinics, network of 63 community-based outpatient clinics. That's what we looked at with the previous slide in Indiana. VISN 10 provides personalized, proactive patient care, 685,000 veterans throughout the lower peninsula of Indiana, and even a little bit of northern Kentucky, but Indiana. So it's kind of like, that's a lot of people, and 685,000 veterans who need to be serviced. Believe me, that's a huge network of people. That's not something small. So this gives you an idea of, you've seen how we broke down the VA, we broke down some quick information in terms of, information is in terms of some data, just a quick reference. So when you look at the state and you look at your company and you look at your products and services, now you look at the NAICS code and say, okay, wow, that area buys those products and services based on these NAICS codes. Okay, so now you're going to start thinking a little bit differently when you approach the situation in terms of opportunities, because your product and service also has to translate into a NAICS code and a product service code, because that's what the VA identifies in terms of procurement. That's what the secret sauce is in terms of, the under the hood information. So now you'll be able to help look for your competition. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what I mean by that in just a few minutes. For now, we're going to get to several questions. So this is going to pop up on your screen. Let me get to the polling questions, and on your screen, you're going to see the question. Okay, so true or false, excuse me, and I mentioned this a couple times. True or false, good data helps businesses develop effective strategies. I mean, I guess there are two types of data, good and bad. So good data helps businesses develop effective strategies. I guess there's three types of data. There's good data, bad data, and data that doesn't really have any effect at all. So, but in this case, of course, we're talking about good data helps businesses develop effective strategies. True or false? Just wait a few more seconds. And it's important for you guys to engage with this. And the reason why is because at the end of today's session, of course, when we log out, there'll be an opportunity for you to fill out just a quick, brief survey. And we'd like to definitely know if the information is clearly defined that's presented, if the information is a good source of a resource for you, and it helps you have either taught you something or helped you understand two pieces that you knew about but didn't know how they connected, and of course the engagement itself, the lessons. So we just want to make sure that we're doing a good job. So we definitely appreciate you completing those the survey. It's very quick. I think like 6-7 questions, very simple ones. Yes, no, true, false, 1 to 5, that kind of thing. And there is a option for you to write in a little bit about, if there was something we could do better, recommendations. If there are courses that you want to learn about that we haven't touched upon, for those of you who may have maybe been to other webinars, with regards to the ones that we do, let us know. And of course, we'd like to put together that information. So in this case, now we're talking about knowledge check 1, good data helps businesses develop effective strategies. And I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to show you the answer. And true. Everyone said true. Absolutely. Absolutely. We want good strategy. We want good data. We want to be able to understand that the difference between good and bad. If it doesn't help you in the decision-making process, it's not needed. But the key is to really have that information and know what questions to ask, and that's the key. So I'm really happy everyone, just went to absolute true, which is good. There's going to be another one coming your way with regards to, again, the questions. So here comes another one. And this one talks about good data or government contracting focused. Good data or government contracting focused data takes time to gather, is necessary for strategy development, requires expert analysis, helps define effective business processes. Now take your time answering this question, because there's a reason for this. question. There's one main answer on this, but think of each answer. Think of each answer before you do. If each one makes sense, then you just keep going to the next one, and then there's one that kind of tells it all. But good data or government contracting focused data takes time to gather, does. Is necessary for strategy development? Absolutely. Requires expert analysis. Well, you have to know how to interpret the data. You can't just say, I got data. Well, what does that mean? Helps define efficient business processes, meaning you're not spending 3 years doing what you could be doing in 9 months. Big difference. And 3 years of doing something as opposed to 9 months means less expense. So in essence, yes, I'm kind of giving you the answer, but I'm also making sense of each answer. Good data or government contracting focused data takes time to gather. I get the question all the time. Well, how much time will it take us to get a contract? How much time will it take to finish this? It'll take as much time as is needed within reason, meaning 3 months or 2 months to finish this piece of it. It'll take 2 to 3 months to finish this piece of it, 2 to 3 months to finish this piece of it. So a contract could be 1 to 2 years, maybe 3. Maybe an opportunity doesn't show up for 2 years. Well, can you guarantee me a contract after the end of, up to 2 years? I can't guarantee you a contract, but I can guarantee you we're going to do the best we can to get you a contract, because that's the goal. When you scour the search capabilities and the systems that are out there, and you make the phone calls and you start building the relationships, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's different avenues and approaches, and we need good data. So again, thank you for participating. I'm going to share the answers in just a moment, and you're going to be all surprised. So we have several people who answered, and thank you so much for answering, attendees. And the question is, with regards to good data or government contracting focused data, we say it takes time to gather. Okay, it does. Absolutely takes time to gather, because you have to go to websites, you have to download information, you have to read reviews, you have to read definitions of what you're looking at and understand what you're looking at. So it does take time to gather. Is necessary for strategy development? Absolutely. Absolutely. So right now we've gone down a list of A and B, and it says takes time to gather and is necessary for strategy development. Requires expert analysis? Absolutely. You got to know what you're looking for. Helps define efficient business processes? Absolutely. So if you pick one of the 4, you're 25% correct. So you're not wrong, you're just 25% correct. All of the above, or A, B, C, and D, is basically defines what good data, government contracting focused data does, and what are the key points. So again, you see the results on your screen. All of you who said all of the above, absolutely, that's 25, 50, 75, 100%. The takes time to gather, 25%. So you're all right in a specific piece of it. But at least the 25%ers now know that there's 75% more to do, which means add that to your repertoire in terms of the information, and just know that good data or government contracting focused data is a group of things. So that's the key point. But thank you so much for participating again. Your participation is important because it tells us how engaged you are and how relevant the information is being presented. Okay, so now we're going to go to one more. And the reason why we're doing so many up front is because we did a lot of information with regards to your customer and the competition. We talked about this, and this is very important. True or false? Call the first number you find without knowing what to say. We talked about this. Everyone should have the right answer. You get a first chance, you don't want to plead for that second chance, make the first chance right. So call the first number you find without knowing what to say. True or false? A few more seconds, but I think we got the gist of it. I'm going to pull up the correct answer. Okay, so I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to share the answer. There you go. Everybody said false. True or false? Call the first number you find without knowing what to say. And you all said false, which is fantastic. Do not call the first number you see if you don't know, if you don't have the confidence to talk about what they expect to hear. Because I guarantee you, if you call them up and say, well, what do I need to be eligible to compete for this? Or do we sell what you need? That's a terrible way to approach a director.
And make a fortune doing it. If you don't want to learn how to buy houses.
Excuse me, can you guys mute? There's somebody's going live there. Thank you. With regards to, so you want to make sure you're just talking the right language and you know who you're talking to. So whether you're talking to program directors about fulfilling requirements, because program directors and project managers, they're looking for solutions. They're sitting at their desk, they're talking in a meeting going, we need to do this, how do we do it? Well, we'll call some vendors or we'll talk to some people, we'll call these and find some solutions. And then if we need to, we'll talk to a contracting officer and we'll put a contract on the street and see what we get with regards to solutions. Or no, we'll do request for information. That's your RFI. We need to do something, but we don't know how to do it, or would like to know options of doing it. There's your request for information. Sources sought. We now know what we want to do. We want to find out who's doing what. You read those. So to give you a better idea of how to speak to these situations, look at sources sought notices and request for information notices, and just become familiar with what the structure, the information they provide, the questions they're asking in terms of that situation. Your conversations will be mostly, we are the vendor and the sources sought notice that can fulfill these requirements and the request for information. It's a lot of information to digest because it's not just that simple. It takes time to read those things. It takes time. But we're going to develop strategies in terms of developing search and narrowing the search, doing those kinds of things, taking advantage of certain databases that exist. So definitely thank you for that. And okay, you guys are saying, come on, where's the information? Let's go to interpreting data for government contracting, lesson 2. I told you there's going to be a lot of quick things going on here. So let's look at data. So this is raw data. This is the raw data table. This is what it looks like. It doesn't look very pretty. It's a massive spreadsheet. I just grabbed some stuff out of it and put it down to show you some pieces of it. but we're talking about a solicitation number. We're talking about the NAICS code, of course, the description, the product service code, the amount purchased, obligation dollars. Just there's a lot of things here. You see a column, I think you guys can see it, vendor phone number. That'll come in a minute, but that's just part of the spreadsheet. It's a gigantic spreadsheet with the dollar obligations. One of the pieces I organized this table was because I wanted to get the NAICS code, the NAICS code description to give you an idea, and of course the product service code and the dollar obligations in that sense. But I wanted to show you something too key on this is that it depends on what you ask for in terms of the data. How you have to go through it, and you have to go, click here, click there, and kind of consistently change the data. But the product service code, you're asking like, well, what is the product service code? What exactly is that? Remember we talked about Y1DA and Y1DZ earlier? Watch what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about those because that's where they break down here in this information. But the key here is to show you deeper information, how it breaks down. Well, this is making it a little bit pretty. We told you we're going to see the slide again based on some additional information. So I'm pointing out 236220 twice, item number 2 and item number 6. Okay, NAICS code, that's the industry, commercial, institutional, building, construction, Y1DA and Y1DZ. Y1DA is construction of hospitals and infirmaries. Y1DZ is construction of other hospital buildings. Well, they don't make it 100% clear or, what does this mean or this mean? But when you talk about different NAICS codes or different product services, now you see that in the same industry, there are different product or services, and each code represents something different within that industry. That's why it's important to review several. When you look at an opportunity that already came and a contract that was already awarded, this information is on it. It's in this database because the information is on it. And so it tells you, do we have widgets that are this size and do this, or do we have widgets that do this? And it gives you, again, this is how they are defining contracts. So all the services you do and the project management that you do and what's included in that and how you present your services and how you manage your services and your milestones, all that is buried into a NAICS code and a product service code. And that's how the government thinks. So they take this data. I'm going to show you, of course, some database, some websites. And we've talked about one. I think, you guys all know that in order to do business with the federal government, you all need to be registered in the SAM, System for Award Management. Well, that's one of the websites I'm definitely going to mention in a minute. And that's exactly what, where this data comes from. There are many other sources that you can go granular, but if you want an immediate reference point to look at and start building your data, this is where the simplest way to go. And it costs you nothing. What is this? Well, we talked about this, service codes, product service codes. This is page 114 of the product service manual located on acquisition.gov. There's a link to it directly for you. And when I say, what does VA buy? So there's a whole manual that says, okay, these are the products and services. There's a section on products, there's a section on services, and there's definitions. Well, Y1DA, Y1DZ. Okay, they're in this manual. They don't give very much information based on that, but this is what they're coded as. And there's additional information. Of course, there's the World Wide Web, there's Google, there's Safari, whatever search you prefer, Bing, etc. Just do your search. What does this mean? What does this define? And there's information on the web and in this manual that defines this even further. So if it's not in one category or one product service code, it's in another. And how many product service codes are in that NAICS code? For those of you who know pivot tables or not, you can. There are ways to identify what product service codes are in a NAICS code and so forth. So there's ways to really manipulate the data. But I wanted to show you in this situation that we're talking about the product service, manual. And this is how you start. You learn both sides of it. Now, if you have the budget and you hire a staff that all they do is focus on this, then you have that piece of your company. But if it's you doing this information, yes, it takes time, and it can somewhat get frustrating because sometimes there's not a clear, it's not as clear and cut and dry, but it's there. And it comes in the time of discussions and research and so forth. But the information is there. It's just a matter of getting to it and really presenting it that way and understanding it. So here's what we're talking about, more advanced look at information. So we've looked at the simplified, and now we look at the advanced. What do I mean by simplified? Do you remember way back when I showed you the pyramid that showed, like, just a layer of different, a mixed bag of products and services just written out in categories? Well, this is the advanced approach right here. You look at the contracting office number 9, engineering services, the product service code is CIDA. The network contracting office 10 that I'm showing you, commercial institutional building construction, as you can see, P400, Y1DA, Y1DZ, and Z1DA. 14 million, 4 million, and 6 million. 25 million in that one. Of course, you have engineering services, you have the product service codes, and so forth. And then there's Indianapolis. So do you see that utilizing a pivot table or going granular shows you a lot of information as to who's purchasing and so forth, and what's being purchased and where, which contracting office, and so forth. But we're going to go deeper after a question. Let me pull this up. Knowing how to interpret data is less important than, equally as important as, more important than, or not as important as gathering the data. So fill in the blank with the answer. Knowing how to interpret data. So you're interpreting and gathering. That's the two key factors here. Knowing how to interpret the data is equally as important as gathering the data. Knowing how to interpret the data is more important as gathering data, is less important than gathering data, not as important as gathering data, or none of the above. Guys, I assume the answer would be obvious. And again, the key is to ensure that we're identifying the important information, and the question kind of fits the mold, you can say. So I am going to show you the answer. We're going to share the answers. There we go. We have a 75% for question B and 25% for answer C. Let's ask the question. Let's work on it together. Knowing how to interpret the data is less important than gathering the data. We've talked about how important data is and how important getting the data is. How important not only gathering the data is, but as far as interpreting it. So it's definitely not less important. Knowing how to interpreting data is less important than gathering it. Well, no, because it's most important. Once you gather it, it's very important. But then you have you're set with this question. Knowing how to interpret the data is equally as important as gathering the data. You have to know what you're looking for to gather, and you have to know how to interpret it. You can say, hey, I got the data. What do I do with it? Well, what do you need out of it? What is your end answer? What is it that you're looking for? And then you say knowing how to interpret the data is more important than gathering the data. Well, you have to gather it first. And definitely it's not as important as. In this instance, we're talking about equally as important. How to interpreting the data is as important as gathering the data. Because you have to know what to gather and just gather everything, and interpreting the data and putting it in a context that you can understand is very important. So that was the key. 25% more important than knowing how to interpret. I can see how you may think that in terms of more important than, because you have to gather data, you have to gather a lot of data, and then kind of interpret what you got and know which to determine what's more important than others and so forth. So I can see where you went more important than in terms of knowing how to interpret. Interpreting it is more important than gathering it, but you have to gather at the same time. So they kind of go hand in hand because interpreting and gathering are together. So you have to gather data and you have to interpret it. If you gather bad data, you're going to interpret bad decisions. There's going to be nothing to do in that sense. So we look at it as a hand-in-hand situation. Interpret is as important as gathering. And that's the key. But thank you so much for definitely participating in this one and all of them. Now let's do our even further deep dive. Why is this important? Because we're going to show you some stuff. Remember I talked to you about data? Well, this is what it is. This beautiful spreadsheet can go down even further. You're talking about the network Office 10. You're talking about, oh, what's this? Armcorp Construction Inc. There's an address there. Wow. And Selena? Ooh, really? Okay. Yeah, 419-778-7024. That's a contract number, and these are like option numbers. And look at VA 215-17R. What is this information? Well, this is the contracts. This is contract data. This is just information to know. This is information to understand, like, hey, this is how they're numbering them. These are option years. These are this is this. One was pulled. Somebody lost 68,000 here, but made 37,000, 71,000. Look at this one, the VA one. Wow, that's a pretty big chunk, 636,000. Not bad. So this is all the contracts that Armcorp got with the Envision 10. Cavalry Contracting Incorporated, they got a contract for, what are we talking here? 543,000. Okay, they're located on 4125 Gibson Drive, Tip City, so forth. And my apologies. You see this number, the 419-778-7024? I bet you all can guess what that is, but I'll tell you what it is. It's a phone number. You got their phone numbers. You can call them and say, hey, we want to do some certain things. We want to do partnerships. We want to talk about what we can do for you in terms of additional services. But you have to understand what the contract is. You have to understand what's being purchased, what's being bought in that sense. So that's what you want to get an idea of. But the key here is look at the information. Armed Corps Construction, Inc., Cavalry Contracting, Inc. This is just one NAICS code. Remember we talked about 236, 220, construction, etc. This is just one NAICS code. They're all there. In that NAICS code alone in 2021, there was $25,108,000 spent. Network contract office. So when we're talking about network contracting office, I'm going to let you in a little tip here. Veteran Integrated Service Network, VISN 10, Network Contracting Office 10. It's the same thing. There's a contracting office. It's named the contracting office within the VISN. Networking contracting office is interchangeable. Contracting wise, that's what they call it, not Network Contracting Office 10. But it's the same thing. So this is the contract, this is the situation, these are the contracts, the phone number, the contractor. So in this spreadsheet that I showed you, in the raw data, this data is all there. But you have to know how to build this type of report. This is called an ad hoc report in SAM for data. There are already generated reports that are put together with certain things, certain information, and some of this information is there. You just have to click on those reports that are already pre-built and go through them. Each one tells you something different. Some of them have interchangeable information, duplicative information. But that's key. The information is there. This is the kind of information that is there. Why is this important? Because it helps you really understand the contracting piece of it behind the scenes. This is the data that they report every year. They send to the SBA, they send to the, for the Golding reports, they send to this. There's more granular information. Are they service disabled? Are they women-owned small business? Are they hub zone? There's more information there. So you look at your competition, you know your competition, and you find out who's buying what. I could have easily added the product service code on this particular board, but I didn't. There's one behind it. There's different pieces that you create in the pivot table. So let's go deep dive even further. I just wanted to show you that National Acquisition Center Facility Purchasing Support. There's a contract there. NAICS Code 541330, Viridian Architectural Design, Inc., Fort Wayne, Indiana. Architectural Corporation, Indianapolis. PCAC, okay? Health Information. Specialized Engineering Solutions in Omaha. PCAC National Energy Business Center. Okay, Noresco LLC. $10 million contract. There's subcontracting opportunities available. I mean, a lot of companies need subcontractors to help them fulfill the contract requirements. I mean, the information is there with who won previous contracts, who won this information. You can narrow it down to one, if you want, you can just choose one NAICS code and just pick it. And you see 541330 is what I picked here. And this is based on each individual center. So there's more information based on like which center, which area within the VISN is breaking down, what they're buying. So this is how much is spent. This is who's getting it. So these companies are winning these contracts. If you don't know them, get to know them. Because it'll help you get your foot in the door. And before you go meet them, there is a opportunity, unless you meet them at a, soon to be a networking event or a situation like that or a type of thing. I mean, you got to build a capability statement and introduce yourself to them as if they are the agency or the government that you're looking to contract with. So there are different opportunities and avenues. No question about that. I just want to make sure you understand how deep the data can go. So let's go to another question. You guys see the question up here real quick. There you go. Now you can answer. True or false? Gathering data is just one of the many processes needed to review data. This is an easy one. It kind of simplifies the past question. Gathering data is just one of the many processes needed to review data. I'm expecting all of you to get this one right. Okay, I'm gonna close this one, go over the answer real quick, and then move on. Okay, you all said true. True. Gathering data is just one of the many processes needed to review data. Simple as can be. Answer is true. It's one of the processes. It doesn't change. It's just one of them. So there's many, but this what's one of them. Okay, so now I believe I've dug down as deep as we can go in terms of what information is out there based on what VA buys in Indiana. So let's talk about finding data. Well, what does that mean, finding data? Well, you got to go to websites, right? So I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about here with regards to websites. So we have SAM, sam.gov. Sometimes I hear people say SAMS. I don't know what SAMS is, but SAM is System for Award Management. It used to be, so what SAM did, for those of you who don't know, is integrated several of the different websites out there. FPDS, Federal Procurement Data System, used to be the data system, the website where all the data was, inputted and exported with regards to these kinds of reports. There's other avenues as well. The other thing is, excuse me. The other thing is, yes, sir.
Real quick, there was a question, where do I find the ad hoc report from Mr. Hines? I assume right there in that button where it says ad hoc, he can find them there. Is that correct?
Mark, you hit bullseye. So there are static reports, there are standard reports, and there are ad hoc reports. Ad hoc reports are the ones that you build. Now that takes time. That takes time. I've had several interactions with the federal help desk, and the reason for that was because there were issues and there were this and that and certain things, and then certain things you choose and that didn't work the way you wanted it to or didn't think, so they explained many things to me in terms of that process. Based on that, once you get the feel, you can make an ad hoc report that says, okay, you want the vendor information, you want the dates, here are the dates between this date and this date, you want, like I said, I can choose which state I want data for, Indiana that I picked for, and so forth. So there's a whole system there. You want the vendor street address, the vendor name, the legal name, the doing business with name. You want all that information to kind of get ideas. So you can build different reports that give you different information. Sometimes the report is so big, it'll give you a system error. If it gives you a system error, just make it a smaller report. But in most cases, if you narrow the information down correctly, it should give you the full access. With regards to contract data. So when you show reports for, you go into SAM, this is the data bank. So you look for contract data, and of course you can find static reports that are already pre-built or standard ones. You go into it and pick your option. So that's a big thing. There are videos on YouTube that can help you identify stuff like that. But of course, I'm available for questions and things like that as well. But as far as this, just go to the website, click for more details. There's a click for more details option here. Of course, you have to sign in. So you sign in to access contract data and go from there. But going to SAM is what will help you start getting data. There are other systems, but pay ones. But this is definitely worth what's going on with regards to information. Filters. USA Spending. This will tell you some information about what also the VA is buying in a different level, and granular level as well. But it won't give you the information that we pulled up in SAM by knowing the Excel spreadsheets and the pivot tables. But as far as the data, it's there. SAM, you just kind of look for the agency, you look for the NAICS code, you kind of go back and forth. And it's just, when I said it takes time, this is the time that I'm talking about. It takes time to go through this information. It takes time to click here. That's not what I want. Reset and do it again. You got to keep doing it, because you have to see what information is being given to you. And if it's not the right information, guess what? Throw it back in the lake and do it again. That's what you keep doing. Once you get to that area, then you get to make those decisions based on, okay, this is what we do, this is what they buy, this is what the VA is. Oh, let's look at the DoD, let's look at the HHS, let's look at the State Department, let's look at GSA. What's GSA buying? Maybe SBA needs what we're doing. Who knows? Homeland. It's just you never know what's there until you start looking around. If you don't need to go there, then you don't need to go there at this time. So it just depends on where you are. But even if you don't need it right now, I just say start doing a little bit each day and becoming familiar with the information. One of the other things, so we're talking about, okay, I've showed you sam.gov, usaspending.gov, and the Veterans Affairs website. Those are 3 websites that you can find good information on. It's free. Each website is free. There's no pay option at this time. There's no need to pay. There are other websites that that give you the opportunity to find data, GovTribe and this one and that one. And I've been told, there are companies that charge a lot of money for certain things, and we can't get the information fast enough, and by the time we find the contract, it's already taken. Well, the people who win the contracts are the ones who have relationships, and solid, good relationships. That's important. It took a year before I built a relationship with Abron and VetBiz, Central. It took a year or 2 to build this relationship. So I just want to give you the truth behind the facts are, it takes time. And don't give up. But the information is there. The opportunity to build relationships is there. The data is there. It's just interpreting it based on what state you're in and what your business does. Let's go to another question. This should be easy. You guys have an idea of the question already, but it's, where can you find free government contracting data? Okay, read the questions first before you answer. Veterans Affairs website, A. SAM, B. USA Spending, C. B and C is SAM and USA Spending. E is Veterans Affairs website, SAM and USA Spending. A, B, and C, which is E. Got a few more seconds on this one, but okay. I'll show you the answer in a second. Any more voters? Okay, so you all jump to E, A, B, and C. Well, that can be very fresh in your minds because I just went over the Veterans Affairs website, SAM, and USA Spending. I picked these 3 websites because you guys saw the interactive maps that I found on the VA and the things. That was all done through research. Nobody pointed me to them. Okay, and there had to be logic to the research. So it had to be a logical pathway. Why am I using this one? This one is fantastic. What can we use it for? And this and this and this. So it took me 6 months to really understand the data and really put it together and put it in a flow. It took me another 6 months to start determining a curriculum for teaching all the information. That's where procurement readiness, my director came up with that, which was fantastic, coined the phrase procurement readiness. It became a government VA-wide, just regular verbiage now, part of the dictionary, VA. Procurement ready, procurement ready, procurement ready, procurement readiness. So there's a lot of things that take place. So after the first year, so it took a year to gather the information, find the information, start writing, and of course the years to follow were nothing but rewriting and writing and creating PowerPoints and reference materials and guides and all that stuff. There was a lot of stuff to deal with in terms of that, but it just takes time. It's not going to take 5 years. It's not going to take 10 years. It's going to take a couple of years. So there's a learning curve. There's a learning piece of it. There's moving forward this way and that way and getting things done that way. So there's a lot of things like that. So that being said, you guys hit it on the head with regards to the correct answer. And we got one more question for you. True or false, gathering data and developing and implementing strategy requires expertise. True or false, gathering data and developing and implementing strategy requires expertise. It's the last question, make it good. All right, let's close it out and answer the question. Let's share the answers. Okay, the question was true or false. Gathering data and developing and implementing strategy requires expertise. For those of you who said true, I'm in the same box or category with you. I agree. The answer is true. Gathering data and developing and implementing strategy requires expertise. Not sure, false. Trying to help with this one in terms of, I mean, I guess you can gather data and develop a strategy and implement the strategy. If you don't want to have expertise at doing it, I mean, that's how you learn. So if that's what you feel the perception is with regards to not necessarily requiring expertise, that's fine too. That's how you learn. So definitely, it's a way to deal with data and develop and implement a strategy. So, I mean, if you believe it's true, then that's fine too. But trying to help you understand the more efficient and effective ways of doing business with the VA and the federal government and doing business, finding what VA buys in Indiana and really implementing that process. Because I've talked to too many companies during, events, face-to-face, one-on-ones, and so forth, that keep telling me a year, 2 years later that they're still stuck in the same rut because there's just so much information to do and so much to really interpret and deal with. And I say, I know, there is. I mean, it's a lot to deal with. But as far as going forward and getting things on point, Gathering data and developing, implementing requires expertise. I'll leave you with that one. So now we're going to talk about, of course, now you're able to, we're wrapping up here, understand the importance of knowing your customer, knowing your competition, knowing the value of data, understanding the importance of organizing data for strategic development purposes, and understand how to use available resources to drive your competitive advantage, how to know what your competitors do and how to compete with them. You know, what makes you different from them? What is it about you that we should choose you to do business with that rather than them? There are certain requirements that are required, such as, you know, if you're a VA verified company, if you're not, you can't compete for a set aside opportunity. Open source opportunities you can. VA verified type companies get, you know, the simplified acquisition threshold opportunities, and there's a lot of things in place. You know, that $638,000 expenditure that we looked at a few minutes ago with regards to a contract, that's within the simplified acquisition threshold, element. So that's a set aside opportunity for a VA verified company if that's what you are. Here are some useful links for you to take advantage of. Of course, Rymys website, Doing Business with VA Reference Guide, and the Procurement Readiness Reference Guide. The Procurement Readiness Reference Guide is the A to M, as in Mary, piece of becoming eligible to compete for opportunities with the VA and the federal government. And Doing Business with VA Reference Guide is the N to Z of doing business with the VA, and many of the pieces can be utilized for other agencies. But there are other each agency has its own database of getting registered in, and so they have certain requirements, but the foundation is the same across the board. There's also learn more about VetBiz Central, Mark and Abron and what they do, Veteran Business Outreach Center, Leibach in Indiana. There you go, vetbizcentral.org. Make sure you join their mailing list so you can be a part of upcoming trainings and upcoming events, upcoming resources, and so forth. We have one more webinar in terms of the fiscal year and this series. Introduction to GSA and VA federal supply schedules next Tuesday, April 26th at 10 a.m. The registration link is there. Stay tuned for additional upcoming trainings in the near future, and we'll keep you posted on that as well with regards to that. But you can feel free to register, and there's an email going out from VetBiz Central and an email going out from us as well as LinkedIn for the next week's training as well. Some contact information for you to be a part, to have for your reference. Rymys, the website. We have two LinkedIn accounts, one for me and one for the company. I suggest you join both of them. Each one of them has different elements of information sharing. The company relationships, partnerships, contracts, things like that. Event scenarios, and of course myself with regards to just posts and informationals. Schedule a meeting as well. And questions. Mark, I think we have a few minutes for questions.
There was one question, Lenny Frierson. My question is, there are vendors in each state for real estate, for leases, buying, and etc. How can I find this information?
That's a great question. You can utilize the steps we've took in this webinar with regards to kind of going to SAM. You can do a Google search even and say, what is the NAICS code? If you have to use your NAICS code to start the process. What NAICS code are you in? You're talking about real estate. So real estate buying and selling in terms of realtors. You do a Google search and say, okay, NAICS code for real estate brokers or realtors.
Hey, Ava?
Yeah, go ahead, Lenny.
Yeah, I've been with you guys for a long time, even back when Mike worked together. I started back when they had that big event in Cincinnati years ago. So the thing is that I done had in the past, I have 2 vendors from the VA from SAM for disabled vets contacting me, but they wanted an appraisal done. I mean, I don't do appraisal, but I think what I need to do is find out is it training for me to become appraiser for commercial property. So it's a lot out there, and it's not just the state of Indiana, because I can work in all states with my license as a real estate. So my thing is, how can I contact these vendors? And they with VA. They are working, I mean, they are literally working VA, whether in Michigan, whether in Indiana, whatever state, because I have been contacted. I'm totally disabled, and my business is 100%. And I'm with Sam already. Matter of fact, I'm going through the verification clause with Sam again. And it should be a day before I get approved and get my letter. So
With Sam?
the research, I know the research, but I mean, it's people, you got vendors out there is that don't know me, don't know the other people that is with VA already, that's got business. So you have people out there, vendors is hunting for us to do business with us, to do their service and help them.
Well, the simplest thing to do is to register. In SAM, there's an option that says, do you want your information shared publicly? That's not, non-personal information kind of thing. You say yes. That puts you in with SBA's Dynamic Small Business Database, DSBS, which is a database of contractors and subcontractors. So there's different avenues of you like advertising your company to other contractors looking for your type of business.
And I'm the first one. I'm in that already. So my thing is, I'm trying to get in contact with them to see what they have, because they searching hard. I mean, yeah, I'm in there, and the one that's really calling me is the one that is it's been out there for years, and they've been doing it for a while, and and my name pop up. I'm already in the database already. So I'm trying to reach out to them. I'm trying to find a way to get maybe a contact list, because when the guy contacted me, this has been a couple of weeks ago, and he said it's a lot out there that he said I need help. So I told him he can reach out to me anytime. So is it whether disposing property, are they trying to rent, are they trying to lease it out, or whatever? So I thought maybe you might have a method how to get in contact, maybe with the headquarters of VA that's in Washington, D.C., and find out, about all the contact information.
Well, you can't call them. I mean, you wouldn't be able to call the VA and say, give me your contact information about these companies. I mean, that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to take advantage of the information. Like I said, like in SAM, the contractors, the vendors you're looking for are in SAM, based on just doing a quick search on that. Your NAICS Code. So the NAICS Code will tell you the vendors. So there's other systems out there that'll tell you. I mean, with regards to this company that called you, do you have their number?
Yeah, I got it. I got all the information.
And you call them and say, listen, I can do your appraisals now wherever you are nationally. And you start building a relationship with these companies.
Okay.
There's more companies in SAM. I mean, this is where the data is. Unfortunately, I know what you want, but you have to dig a little bit for this information. The VA will tell you, well, we don't have a list like that.
Yeah, so I guess I need to go into SAM, and they got education class. I need to take them classes to figure out how to get that information.
Unfortunately, yes. I mean, I'm not the yes man consultant or partner, that just tells anyone whatever they want to hear. I'll tell you what the truth is, because I've interviewed these people at the VA. I've interviewed program directors and contracting officers, and they tell me, I wish companies would stop coming to us and asking us to give them information. And it's like my goal is to get you ready to do business. So yeah, there's information out there based on what you're looking for. It's a matter of utilizing the databases that are there.
Right. Right, and you correct that, and I'm not trying to talk to the president or whoever. I'm trying to that the people that I want is the vendors that's out there working in the field
Absolutely.
that's looking for me, you know, because they can't do it themselves. Are they in a point that they can't do the contract? They're the point of contact, and I'm the one going to be doing the leasing, the buying, disposal of property.
You're going to be a subcontractor to them. I understand. Now
Yeah.
you said you're in the system, so you're in SAM, yes? Are you in
Yes.
SBA's?
Yes.
Are you in the SBA's DSBS?
Yeah. I had some problems. I don't know that you're aware that when they rebuilt the system, it was a lot of disabled vet. They lost their profile. They deleted it. So, and you got to do a letter. It's a lot. So it took me until now to get back into the SAM profile, and you got to be self-administrated. It was a lot of wrongdoing that you had third parties doing things going into are they taking the disabled vets, doing the contracts. The vets getting money, but they're not doing the business. They got a third party doing, and the federal government is stopping that. They putting a halt to this. If you're not,
well, you can also go to the VA's website for the VetBiz.
Yeah.
The VA verification website.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do a search inside the database and see how many VA verified companies there are in real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there on the website. You just do the search. You can put in all the states. You can pick certain states, and you can say, okay, I'm looking for this. The companies that did it right will put their capability statement inside their profiles on the VA VetBiz.
Yeah.
And then it'll pull up, okay, real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. And then you call these companies and say, hey, I'm SDVOSB myself, and I do this. I'm looking to offer you this. They'll say, send me a capability statement. Do you have a capability statement?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not, it need to be updated. It need to be clarified. I have one, but it's not, I need to get it straightforward. So I need to work on that.
Those are things that you need to get it, updated for. And then you send it to them just like they're an agency. You're starting to introduce yourself. Okay. So the more you talk to people, the more you let them know you exist, the more you're in their face, they know you're for real, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So there's in marketing, we call it like touch points, right? So you're letting them know like 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times that you're in their face, you exist, and this is what you can do. After so many times, they know that you now exist, and they're gonna say, hey, let's call in. Let's call this company. They're I mean, they've been trying to get some business. Let's talk to them. He's a good guy. Let's put it to the test and see what happens.
Yeah, and they seeking out for me. I would just
So what I'm saying is the DSBS is a spinoff of the SAM profile. It's a way for other companies who are not VA verified to look for you and find you. And then there's a system called Subnet, also ran by the VA, by the SBA, and that's where subcontracting opportunities are put in. Companies are looking for subcontractors in that system. Now, how you update the DSBS is through a system called General Login System. You have to get an account in there. You've probably never heard of it because it's not profoundly advertised as it should be, and it's an old system, but it still works. But the point is that there's a lot more to it. Unfortunately, it's not cut and dry. It's a little bit. You have to know the ins and outs to be able to understand how the pieces work.
Okay, now do you? Here's a quick question: do you have that information, or can you email it to me? I put Subnet, and I put the general login. Is it in SAM or is it somewhere else?
No, the general login system is just do a Google search for SBA General Login System, GLS, and then you submit a quick registration form as a small business,
Okay,
And that's all. General login system. It's going to give you a bunch of lists of like how you're going to register. You register as a small business.
okay, okay. That's great information. I'm seeking more information because, you know, I just been doing, you know, a lot of residential just in the state of Indiana, and I have not used it. So now I guess, hey, it's there and people's really calling me. So I need to try to see can I make it work.
Well, if you're an SDVSB, Lenny, and you know, first of all, thank you for your service.
Uh-huh.
And second of all, I would think that you have a position of, you know, what your business does and working with the VA. Veterans Benefits Administration deals with real estate and realtors and
Okay.
those kinds of things. So there are a lot of companies who are contracted with them.
Okay.
There's
All
a
right.
lot of opportunity for you there. Just you got to do some homework.
Okay. Thanks for the presentation today, and I'm gonna work on it.
My
Today.
pleasure. Were
Okay.
you able to download the handout, Lenny? Did all of you guys download the handout?
No, I didn't. I tried. I seen it.
I'm sorry.
Lenny, I sent you in the chat, I sent you a link to that login that Tarek was referring to.
Okay. I need to check. Did you? Oh, okay. I see it. Let me download it right now.
Okay, and then as far as the handout, my contact information is there. Please drop me an email if you'd like.
Okay. Okay, Even. I appreciate it. I'm gonna log in right now and see and get this information right now.
Okay,
All right. Thanks.
thank you, Lenny.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. Anybody else have any questions? Any more questions there? Let's see. We have one from. Okay, Mark, are we good to go then? Are we?
We are good. And if no more questions, going once, going twice, gone. Thank everybody for being here. Tarek went over the other webinars that he's going to be giving, and that's it.
Next
Thank
Tuesday.
you very much, Tarek. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And don't forget that when we close out, take the survey.
Yes, yes. All righty. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.